Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. My name is Sarah Crawford, and I am a servant of God, and I am trying to get more bold and brave on here, sharing revelation and things that I believe I've been shown and just want to share with the world. So I was thinking today about the religious spirit, and I want to talk a little bit about that, the religious antichrist spirit that is in the earth. And what got me thinking about this was remembering a scene um, from The Chosen, from the show The Chosen. And this is kind of when I think about the religious spirit, I always relate it back to the Pharisees of in the Pharisees in the days of Jesus, how they absolutely could not accept Jesus because he did not show up how they expected him to show up, right? They expected the Messiah to be a king. They did not understand God's full plan. And regardless of how, regardless of the miracles, regardless of everything that Jesus was doing, casting out demons, healing the sick, making the blind see, that they could not deny the miracles, right? And but they just wanted to shut it down. They just wanted to shut it down because they were so afraid of losing their position, their power, and their money, and the way that they thought that it should be. Now, if there's one thing that we know about God and what He's taught us, if you've read the Bible, is that God never does things the way we think. God always has something up his sleeve. Like that is just what I have learned from getting closer in this just studying more from knowing more about God's nature, okay? And going back to the Pharisees in the show, they are talking about this is towards the end. He's raised Lazarus from the dead, and they're talking about how they have to squash this Jesus character. This is getting out of hand. He has too many followers. There's too many people that believe in him, and there's some of them that are like, well, I mean, he raised someone from the dead. Like a lot of them knew Lazarus. Lazarus was a well known person and a wealthy person. And and they had seen some of the Pharisees were there when Jesus raised him from the dead in the show, at least. Who I don't know for sure, but in the show, they're they're talking about how they can squash this, and they're obviously talking about convicting Jesus and trying to kill Jesus. And their first plan, because they don't want to kill Jesus because they know that the people will mob, their first plan is to kill Lazarus again. Like, and that is just insane to me. Like, they don't care who they'll take out. Like, just this is kind of with the Charlie Kirk stuff and like things going on right now is like they don't care who they take out to further the evil agenda. It's like, oh, Lazarus is disposable. Jesus is not quite disposable yet, but Lazarus is disposable. And literally one of the so they're conspiring to kill him again so that they won't keep talking about so that the rumor won't keep spreading that Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead because um because this is just too much. Too many people are going to believe in him, right? And so then they say, one of them says to the other one, like, well, what if he raises him again? Then it's just gonna explode even more, right? And I don't know, that scene just popped into my mind with the general thought on my mind that they're going to start the system, the religious system, the governmental systems, all the systems are going to start eliminating the voices of truth that speak for Christ, and have too many numbers or impacting too many people. And along these same lines with the Charlie Kirk thing, and him being tragically killed a few days ago. Oh, that I wanted to testify a little bit on a lot about that too, is that he was on the front lines. Like he was on the front lines at college campuses. And I pray to God that somebody or 100 people take his place in what he was doing with his turning point and bringing it to college campuses, because I have heard, including myself, an endless amount of testimonies where the darkness, the trouble began in college. And of course, it makes sense because it's your first time you're away from your parents, drinking, partying, sex, all the things happen in college. But you're also in college very indoctrinated to the systems, okay? The systems where now we have you in debt for the next 10 years. Now we're gonna, control how you can get a job, what you have, what certifications you have to get a job. You have to keep coming back, get another degree, all this stuff. College is a major system that that we're told we have to go into next. Um, and and I think it's where a lot of people lose their faith in that system or, start exploring the world, um, and and are just blinded from a lot of that truth that they learned as children, maybe in the church, maybe not. Um, so that was just my thought on the front lines on college campuses because that is it's near and dear to my heart. I just know how college drew me completely off track, and I would love to create a course for women going into college. This is what you need to know. And not even about like don't, be perfect and don't sin at all, but like just the spiritual realm and the spiritual consequences of sin. Like I did not know those things going into college. And you don't know all of the doors you're opening and all of the agreements you're making if you don't learn it. So that's a call to action to myself to continue to write that book for college women. But yeah, going back to speaking about the religious spirit and the Antichrist spirit in the church and how this next covenant, um, every covenant that God has made with his people, there is more grace and mercy attached at every level. If you look through the Bible, you know, more acceptance, more people grafted in, I guess you want to say. And none of us know what this next covenant completely looks like. But I can guarantee one thing, that it is going to be more inclusive and more graceful and more loving. And Jesus, in the end, it may not all happen like we think it's going to happen, or even like is written that it's going to happen, because what was written and dissected and studied just in the first 5 books, just in the Torah, by the Pharisees, they fully believed they were expecting a king. Like in their defense, kind of, that, they didn't, what it said made everything believe that he would arrive as a king. So for them to reject that, they were stuck in their ways and they were not open to the possibility that God may do things a little bit differently than everyone's expecting. So I just challenge people to think about challenging everything you've been taught. When I was first saved, I had 2 major thoughts, like, the download of salvation, okay? And then came the downloads of truth. And I had thought 2 things simultaneously that were completely contradictory. And that was, it's all true. OMG, it's all true. Like, Jesus is real. It's all true. And then the next one was, but it's all a lie. The church, like the system of the church and what it has become and what has developed, like over the 2000 years since Jesus created the way, and man has changed it into organized religion and, quite frankly, the den of thieves, right? The den of thieves and the, manipulation and using the devil, infiltrating himself in the church, um, to use it against the actual way and the original message. And that's a lot of what I've learned in my very solitary time of seeking God over these last three years, um, since I was radically saved, that God has taught me no one else has taught me very much. I've had a lot of alone time with God. I've had a lot of time in the Word, and I guess that's why I trust my own revelation is because I'm not a theologist. I haven't come to a lot of the thoughts that I have, like, I don't believe that I've come to them on my own accord because it's nothing that I've ever thought of before, you know? And I just think that God has something up his sleeve. And I challenge people to not be of the religious spirit and be willing to question your beliefs in maybe, what you've been taught in the church versus what Jesus's true intent for the way was after, before his death and after his resurrection to his disciples and where it's gone to now. And be open to being excited about what God has up his sleeve and be ready to be a part of it. So, all right, guys, thanks.